Well, happy Friday morning. Welcome into Market Day Report. Good news is you got me for the rest of the day. Bad news is you got me for the rest of the day. How about that, Mr. Tony St. James on assignment? So let's see what we can bring to you right now. Let's go through some of these boards as far as the ags go and see what we did overnight, and then we'll get into our first guest analyst. Corn up 2.25 cents to 4.24. That's December. A little wind beneath our wings, right? Let's go out to say the March. It's up a penny and 3/4 to 4.37 1/4. All right, let's move there to the soybean market and see what's got that going for. Another nickel higher, 5.5 cents. 10.16 1/4 is last, a half cent off the high of the day. We're up a nickel behind it in Jan to 10.33 1/2. Let's go to the wheat market in Chicago. Check a couple of these. Wheat in Chicago up a tick, 1/4 cent. Quiet. December is at 5.02 3/4. Decent Chicago wheat, 5.02 3/4. While March is up a half cent to 5.19 1/4 there. Let's take a look at Kansas City while we're at it. How about the hard red? We'll see what they're doing at down 1/4 cent, nothing. And the answer is they're not doing anything. There's nothing going on. Well, I don't want to make something out of nothing. I'm going to say this is basically closed, but we're down one tick, 488 1/2 in D's hard red. Kansas City, we're down one tick in March hard red in Kansas City to 508 3/4. Let's take a look at cotton. We'll get to our next guest analyst. Cotton is, drum roll please, up 63 points in D's to 64.36. Only 4 points right now off the high of the day. All right. That's me trying to be positive about that old cotton market. Let's bring in our guest analyst, Mr. Brian Hoops. He is Midwest Market Solutions. Brian has it's been a while. Haven't seen you. There you are. Look at the beard. That's good. A little G.I. Joe-ish, I think. That's pretty good stuff there. What are your thoughts about these markets?
Now you're dating both of us. You're talking about G.I. Joe. That's from our childhood, Scott.
Right.
Right. There's some things to talk about this morning. So some interesting things, actually. With the government being closed, we're always searching for news and for information to trade off of. And we've been looking at technicals, and those are improving for both corn and soybeans. Both of those markets bouncing off of some support. We estimate that the corn harvest is about 45% done. Soybeans is about 60% done. And so when you get to that point in the harvest season, you usually start talking about seasonal lows and a post-harvest type rally. And so maybe we've started that. And it may be fueled by comments that President Trump has made reportedly over the last few days, but announced released this morning that these tariffs with China are not sustainable. They will not last, and that he has a meeting with President Xi in 2 weeks. Just a week ago, he called off all these meetings, slapped the tariffs back on, and we saw the markets react accordingly. Now apparently the meeting is back on. They are going to speak, and hopefully they can make at least some progress on reaching some sort of a trade agreement. I think we just absolutely have to have an agreement with China. You just cannot go off of good faith and expect China's going to buy U.S. soybeans. Brazil and Argentina will grow over 180 million tons of soybeans this year. That's more than enough to meet the Chinese demand. And if China has their way, they're going to buy products out of South America and ignore the U.S. So you absolutely have to have some agreement here. And it's taken a long time. It may not be close to completion, but hopefully we get something worked out with China where they take U.S. ag products.
Well, I think that if they, that's great point. I think that if they do take U.S. ag products, it'll be ceremonial. They're going to take them from South America. They put too much money in there. They've built, the biggest port in the world in Peru. They're not going to. I think we need to. I think a trade deal with China gets done, but it's not going to be done until maybe the first or second quarter of next year, because I don't think anybody's going to sign a trade deal real quick before we go here, Brian, unless we know what the Supreme Court's going to say about the tariffs. That's November 5th. Let's just say Trump prevails on November 5th. Are we going to get anything signed, in the weeks after that between Christmas and Thanksgiving and Christmas? I don't think so, but what are your thoughts before we go away here?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I didn't think it was going to happen this year until we got into the fall. That's when China normally would buy products from the U.S. They've skipped us. They had big crops out of South America. They did not need to come to the United States. They had all the leverage and all the bargaining power. And then I think they still kind of do in that sense. It's going to take more time and maybe a crop problem in South America before China is forced to buy products from the U.S. and forced to sign an agreement.
Yeah, and then with this rare earths thing, I think that kind of just pushes the soybeans down that list of priorities, which unfortunately I don't like to see. All right, stay right there. We're going to go away. We're going to pay some bills. Take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk more with Brian Hoops. He's with Midwest Market Solutions right after this. All right, welcome back. This is where I would usually normally get caught up thinking that the markets are open for cattle market, but no, they don't open again until that 8:30 line. So let's just take a look and see what we did over yesterday's prices, right? Well, not even overnight. So we'll bring up a live cattle board yesterday. We did see a little bit of a rally, mostly in the front month. The buck 77 higher in October, live cattle at 243.95. And everything else was up anywhere between, say, 65 to 97 cents. Deese was up 97 cents right behind it to 247.75. Feeders, what did they do yesterday? Well, it wasn't that busy. We're a little bit better on the board. October up 25 cents to 379.97. 30 cents higher. These are all small changes, right? November's up 30 cents yesterday to 380.97, and we were up. Let's go all the way out to March. It was up $1.30 to 376.90. And then finally, we'll take a look at the lean hogs. We're done with our four-legged friends. We'll get back to Brian Hoops. We've got Deese down $1.05. Deese lean hogs 82.55, and then if we go to the belly of the curve, April. That's down 50 cents, 5.0 to 88.82. All right, let's bring him back in, Mr. Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. He's the president there. Thank you very much for sticking around, Brian. What are your thoughts on the trees that grow to the sky?
So let's look first at the positives in the cattle market here. Cash trade developing on a dress basis in the north yesterday at 372. That's fully $10 higher than last week's trade. We haven't seen much in the way of any live trade either in the north or the south. A little bit, just a handful in the north, about $5 higher than a week ago. The feedlots were asking 240 in the southern plains, and those asking prices have jumped to 245 last I was told in the southern plains. They want to see at least $5 to maybe $8, $9 higher this week for their cash inventory, and they may get it this week. Especially, Packers didn't buy a lot in the south last week. Now, last night, President Trump made some comment that he has made a deal to bring beef prices down here in the United States. And that's it. That's all that was said. There's no details. It's really left trade scratching their heads and wondering, have they reached an agreement to import beef from Argentina or Brazil, lowering taxes? Are they going to incentivize the U.S. farmer to rebuild the herd inventory and bring prices down over the long term? There's just no information out there what that means. Markets don't like that uncertainty. It looks like cattle and feeder cattle are going to open lower. Maybe not the October live cattle contract that's tied to the cash markets that should be higher. The rest of the months, they look to trade lower this morning off of this uncertainty about what's going to happen and what this deal has, what it means that he is talking about.
We had some people write into the radio show I did earlier this morning, and there's no quick fix there, right? So he's going to have the best intentions to do something when it comes to the beef and, say, even eggs. But I don't know what the quick fix could possibly be. We'll see. But you're right. Markets don't like uncertainty. But I'm certain that you've given us everything you can. So we'll take it from there. Brian, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Brian Hoops, he's the president of Midwest Market Solutions, Springfield, Missouri.